Rahu is like Maya on steroids.
Knowing a little bit about your past life.
Ketu will always show you your past life. What's the point of a good looking chart if you don't enter a dasha where it's going to really shine through? What do all of the Vedas really tell you to do?
But then where is the free will?
So whenever something is meant to happen, the planets always communicate through.
Most of us turn towards astrology when things go wrong. The idea of a chart predicting our future excites us. But that's where things go wrong, where we fall into the loop of fear and insecurity. But what if you got it all wrong? What if astrology is not here to fix your life, but to show you your life? Not from the angle of panic or fear, but from the angle of consciousness. And in this episode, we go deeper. We talk about astrology as a karmic blueprint, Vedanta, quantum physics, and how astrology is not just about the charts, but how it is a mirror to your life.
Millionaires don't believe in astrology. Billionaires do.
Billionaires too. Welcome, Harshna, on the Make Sense podcast.
Thank you, Himanshu, for having me.
I love astrology. I believe in astrology. But I've also seen that side of astrology where people get scared. People are, generally falling into how to fix their quick fixes of, wear this, do that, do this. Now, today I want to change the whole dialogue towards maybe the brighter side of astrology, you can say. But I want to start with what's there to astrology beyond all of these quick fixes, predictions, and make my life better by just reading it out and all of that.
So let's first try and understand what is astrology. Okay. Now, astrology is fundamentally based on the concept of karma. So it's believed that a soul has to wait for the planets and stars to be aligned with your past life karma. So when you are born, it's like a snapshot of the sky, kind of shows us the trajectory of your life. Okay. So whatever the planets and stars are, how they're placed, will tell us how your life is going to sort of unfold. Now, a big part of your life is predetermined. Big part.
Okay.
Not all of it. Big part. What I mean by big part is, say, the family that you're born into is not something you choose. The kind of opportunities you're going to have, the kind of challenges you're going to face. A lot of it is external influences, right? You can't control a lot of, say, the kind of childhood that you had or the kind of opportunities that came eventually. How you maneuver through those situations, those circumstances is what comes down to free will. Now, what astrology will primarily show us is what is your karmic blueprint? What are you here to, say, learn? What are you here to, say, evolve through? What are the lessons that your soul has to go through? And what kind of rewards are you going to get? But see, a lot of people think that we want to fix, say, a period in your life, right? Ki we're in a certain, say, Ketu Dasha. How can we do something that is going to fix our life externally? But astrology was not made for you to fix the external perspective, And I realized this because before I ever got into astrology, I didn't understand how it was possible, because obviously Saturn is like over 1 billion kilometers away from Earth.
Yeah.
I was like, how the hell is it going to impact anything that we're doing here? But the more you understand astrology, the more you realize that everything has its own purpose in your life. Everything is here to teach you something. You're not meant to change the narrative of your life by doing something. Say if you're going through a difficult period, or say a breakup, for example, right? It's about what you learn from that breakup. It's about, do you become a stronger person from that, any kind of challenge that comes into your life. And unfortunately or fortunately, no human really grows from good times, right? How much have you grown through challenges in your life?
Yeah.
Everything, every form of growth, transformation will always come through challenge. So the idea is actually not to fix it, because life is transient, right? Everything is a phase. In astrology, everything is a phase. Even if it's a bad phase, or if it's a challenging phase, I don't like to call it a bad phase. But if it's a challenging phase, it's also for 2 years, 3 years maximum. But those 2-3 years will teach you so much that, in my life, I think, say, I went through a really difficult time for 4-5 years. But after that period got over, I looked back, and that time, obviously, nobody wants a bad time, right? I was like, show me the astrologer. But in hindsight, if I had not gone through what I went through then, I would not have been doing what I do today. I would have been a completely different person. So you don't have to be scared of like what life throws at you. You have to align with it. And astrology is supposed to only make you understand your journey. So it's supposed to make you understand where are you coming from, where are you at, and how does this sort of bridge the gap between where you're coming to where you're going.
Right.
It just shows you the journey. It tells you to align with it. It tells you to understand where you're going better. Maybe better prepare for it. It's like Google Maps, right? You know the rasta, you know where you're going, but you still check.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all. You can't now pick up the traffic and say, "Raste mein ki, let's remove these cars," or you can't do anything, right?
Yeah.
You will still get on that journey. Maybe you'll be a little bit more mindful. That's it. That's what you're supposed to do. Astrology is not meant to make you change anything. What it's meant to maybe make you change is your perspective to a period or to any of the periods that are coming ahead, to create a sense of awareness. Like, if I'm entering a period where I know that it's not necessarily the brightest, I will be more mindful, I will be more cautious, I will be more careful when I'm getting into anything new. I'll be like, okay, let me think about this more carefully. Whereas if I'm entering a period where I know a lot of things are going to work out, then I'll be more relaxed. I won't like second guess everything, or I'll be like, okay, this is an opportunity, let's try it. That's it. That's all that it's really meant to do for you. It's not supposed to make you change the course of your life. Also, in my experience in the last 6 years, you can't change the narrative of your life. There is, if something is written for you, if it's an experience that is written for you, even if you're like, I have seen people who've gotten into relationships, and in a period that I've seen that they should not get into a relationship, and also said that this is not a period that you should probably be dating, gotten engaged, and then broken up. But because they had to go through that journey, right? That was an experience that was written for them. You can't change, even though that person is so close to me, I can't change the experience that is written for them. I can't change my own experience. If I have to go through a difficult period, I will go regardless of even me as an astrologer knowing that I have something that may not be the greatest time. I will still enter a period that's going to be challenging. But the idea is to not get affected by it, right? Not to get overwhelmed by the bad, and not get overexcited about the good. That's it. That's all that astrology is supposed to do.
Okay, got it. But this like sounds, of course, easier when you talk about it, and because let's say someone who is in between the problem, right? If you look at this like this conversation from their perspective, they'll be like कि यार हमारी प्रॉब्लम है, हमें पता है हम कितनी मुश्किल से जा रहे हैं, बोलना आसान है कि हाँ ठीक है एक्सेप्ट कर लो या ये कर लो वो कर लो, which is of course fair because everyone lives the same experience in their own way.
Yeah.
Right? But tell me something. What is interesting is that you said that it's a karmic blueprint, right? But जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल कोई लाइक समवन इज बॉर्न एंड उनका चार्ट उसके बर्थ के बेसिस पे जो भी स्टार्स हैं उसके बेसिस पे बन गया, बट उसने तो टेक्निकली कुछ किया ही नहीं अभी, ही इज जस्ट हियर लाइक जस्ट अराइव्ड, राइट? दे हैव जस्ट अराइव्ड इन दिस planet and
so you're saying where is this karma coming
like
from?
where is this, what is this
Karmic blueprint.
yeah, उसने कुछ किया नहीं है अभी, he is
So
not responsible
okay.
for all that.
So there are 3 types of karma.
Okay.
Okay. One is sanchit karma, one is prarabdha karma, the third is agami karma.
Agami. Okay.
Now first is sanchit karma. What is that? That is basically, imagine like a bank.
Sanchit is like collective, right?
Yeah. So it's like you have a bank, and everything you've got, you put in that bank. Okay, all of your money, all of your wealth, your experiences, everything you've put in that bank. Now you're going on a holiday. So you will decide, okay, let's take out this much money.
Yeah.
And now we have to decide, kind of create an itinerary for that holiday.
Right.
So you will decide your budget. You will decide the experiences that you have to take. You will decide how much time you will stay in what city for, whatever. And the only rule on this holiday is that you can't change the plan after you have landed. There is no change. Okay.
Yeah.
What you can change is how much fun you want to have. You might like some plan within that holiday. There'll be parts of the plan that you don't enjoy anymore. Now, either you can sit and cry about it and say, okay, oh my God, why have I made this plan? This is horrible. I'm getting bored. Or you can just be like, okay, I'm going to make the most of whatever you have, whatever opportunities you have. There is always, one thing I realized because you asked this question about how if somebody's going through a difficult time, how do they cope? Everything is perception. I've seen two people going through very similar circumstances, situations in their life, and how they react to that situation is almost always very different. Like how one person deals with a traumatic experience versus how another person deals with traumatic experience. One person can get depressed and then somebody can go into alcohol, drugs, etc. I've seen that as well. But I've also seen somebody become more spiritual, become more aware of their journey, become more just taken that opportunity to grow, So that's where perception comes. So it's actually not wrong to say that, yeah, everyone goes through difficult times, but how you deal with the situation is entirely up to you. And that's what, I think personally, that's what astrology is meant to also show you is to, कि इतने time के लिए you're going to go through a certain kind of period that's going to create a little bit of difficulty, but everyone has enough internal compass. Everyone has an innate ability to be able to deal with whatever comes, because nothing is permanent. Everything, the good also comes and passes, the bad also comes and passes. So it's really in that moment, how big of a hole do you want to dig for yourself when something bad is happening? Or can you kind of just crawl out of it and find the silver lining in it and move on?
Right.
Because nobody, okay, Himanshu, there is nobody in this world that I have spoken to whose circumstances are perfect. Nobody. There is, maybe you'll have a year in your life where you feel like everything is going for me. Somebody who has money does not have love. Somebody who has love does not have money. Somebody who has love and money does not have health.
Yeah.
So there are 12 houses in astrology. Every house has some sort of role to play, okay? And there's never a perfect balance of all of those 12 houses, which means there's always going to be something that is not working out for you.
Yeah.
Now, it's up to you. Are you going to look at what is not working out for you, or are you going to look at what is working out for you? Because even a broke person has good health. So either you can look at, oh my God, I'm healthy, or you can look at, oh my God, I have no money. What do you choose to do? At least you have a healthy body to be able to go and do something to make money, right? So it's what you make out of your circumstances. It's very easy to become a victim to your problems versus actually fighting and being like, listen, actually, I can do something from the problems that you have. Like when I was going through a difficult time, I went looking for answers everywhere. I went to every astrologer, and then I was like, one day I'm like, how difficult can astrology be? I was like, let me try and like solve this, because I just didn't find one person who could tell me that, who could even show me a little bit of hope. As an astrologer, all I really wanted was to be able to go to someone who will say कि सब ठीक हो जाएगा. ये नहीं कि मतलब now you're doomed for the rest of your life. And that perspective, I never got anybody who told me that you're going to be okay, or this is a phase that's going to get over, or nobody explained to me that this is a karmic sort of journey. Everyone just said that you're doomed. And I was like, so if I'm doomed today, this is doomed, and if I'm going to be like doomed for the next 20 years, then we have a problem.
Yeah.
But that's not what anybody wants to hear, right? Even in that period in time, like I found astrology, and I think one of my biggest gifts in life was actually being able to, one random day, thinking that I want to learn astrology on my own. And my mom said, okay, why don't you go to all of these 30 astrologers that she had? Yeah. She had a new astrologer for every day. She's like, go to one of them and like learn. And I was like, no, actually, I don't want anybody's opinion to kind of color my judgment on what I understand of astrology. So I picked up the Hora Shastra, which was by Maharishi Parashar, which honestly nobody reads. Like, I don't think anybody wants to go and read that, because it's a very complicated text. And I just picked it up one day and I'm like skimming through it. This is nice. Like, I know this, I know this, I know this. And it was, and I always say this is, I remembered astrology. I didn't know astrology. Like, I didn't do anything to study it in this life.
Yeah.
When I was, it's like how you revise before an exam.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I kind
Yeah.
of just, I was like, oh, this is nice. And I was telling my dad, and my dad was in the government. So I think that he's pretty intelligent. Civil servants, normally intelligent. I was like, Dad, I have this very cool skill set I have developed. Why don't you also learn it? Look, this is astrology. It's very simple. And he's like looking at me saying it's not simple. He's like, what are you saying? I'm like, no, this. He's like, this is really complicated. I remember, how does this make sense to me? 2 days. That's how much time it took for me to start reading birth charts. And that was my gift of a bad time.
Yeah.
So either I could have at that point in time been like, oh my God, I'm just going to sit and just cry over whatever has happened. But this was my way of sort of dealing with the situation. So there is always something that you can learn. You can always develop a skill in a bad time,
Yeah.
or in a time that you feel like nothing is working out for you. Skill development in a world of today is not hard. There's so many different avenues. So I don't think any kind of circumstance can you really go through where you feel like life is over. Because I've seen many people who have gone through the worst. As an astrologer, you see new people and new lives every single day. And I've seen people go through the worst, and some have managed very well, and some have not even managed in a fairly decent kind of circumstance, when things are going okay, and for the world, everyone, you'll be like, listen, but this person has no problem.
Yeah.
But they're depressed about, okay, maybe depressed is not the right word. But somebody who's just very unhappy with their circumstances, very unhappy with, even if they have everything on paper, that you say, okay, money is also there, love is also there, house is also there, health is also there, but still there's some reason to be unhappy. So it's very subjective. What you're asking is like, it's a very subjective answer, is what is right and what is wrong, what is good and what is bad. It's what you make out of it.
Right. Okay. And what about the third karma?
Agami karma.
Yeah.
So agami karma is, like I said, it's what you do when you're on the holiday.
Okay.
So it's like prarabdha is the cards you've been dealt, or the itinerary that you have chosen, and now how you make the most of your time there is your agami karma. And that's also the karma that you kind of accumulate for your future lives. That eventually the agami karma goes into the bank,
The next birth chart.
bank. So it's like the sanchit plus the agami will decide. So you don't use up everything in the bank, right, to go on a holiday.
Yeah.
So you decide literally you take only a part of it. So the rest of it also goes back there.
Yeah.
And then you go into your next life.
Okay.
That's just how it is.
Okay. Now, since you mentioned past life, I want to just go there a little bit, right? Because I've done my past life regression, so I'm into I'm very fascinated by the past life thing. Like you said, how and astrology, when you read about it, it felt like you know it
Remembrance,
already.
yeah.
Remembrance. So that has happened with me also in a lot of other spiritual practices, right? It's like, oh, this is something which is very familiar, very very comfortable. ये कैसे आता है मेरे को, like that. So tell me something that through astrology, is there any way, or does any of the books mention, does any of the Vedic scriptures talk about knowing a little bit about your past life through this
Knowing something about your past life through an astrology chart,
or maybe any other understanding of astrology?
honestly, I think this is my whatever understanding that I have is Ketu will always show you your past life.
Oh,
It is where your past life gifts are. It's where what you have already learned and studied in your previous lives is like sort of like a remembrance. So if you're ruled by Ketu, then a lot of the things that you end up doing under the influence of Ketu is even like karmic relationships. People that you meet will be people that you will meet and be like, I know this person. It's a sense of familiarity. It's a sense of kind of you feel like you've met them before. And even something that you pick up, like a skill, like for me, it was obviously astrology. Also, all of the scriptures that I read are, again, when I'm reading them, I'm like, oh, this answers the questions that, not just answers the questions, but things that have been on my mind I'm like, oh my God, wow, it's actually written here. So, sort of like validation, but I feel like that knowledge was always there. So, it's easier for me to connect with it now versus anybody else who might want to pick this up and do it today. So, Ketu will always bring to the forefront a lot of karmic patterns, a lot of a lot of past life, like I said, past life gifts. Anything to do with the past life will always come from Ketu. Now, whether that stays for a long period of time in your life or not, you never know. But it definitely will bring that sort of energy into your life. Also, anybody who's specifically ruled by Ketu, and I am very ruled by Ketu, so I can say this with a lot more certainty, is there's like this deep sense of connection that is needed everywhere. Like it's like you need to feel like a past life connection with anything that you do. Matlab, you want friendships also that feel like a sense of familiarity. You want that depth because Ketu is about like everything that is spiritual in nature, which wants to turn to the self, all of your self awareness, self inquiry, past life, all of that is all Ketu. Versus, yeah, but I mean, what else does Ketu bring? That is probably, in my opinion, where you will be able to see any kind of past life pattern.
Before we go into the, more maddening stuff,
Yeah.
you mentioned something called karmic relationships.
Yeah.
Okay. And now recently I've thought of this concept that I thought karmic relationships are something in which, like, for example, you find a girl and you fall in love with her, and you think that, okay, you're gonna get married and all of that, and suddenly that relationship breaks.
Yeah.
Right? It goes away. Right? And then uh, you
Feel like you lost the love of your life.
no, but like, yeah, of course, that is one thing. But if you look at from this angle, then it's like, oh, this a karmic relationship? Was this here to teach me something, or was it here to give me something, or like that? So what exactly is a karmic relationship?
So karmic relationships are relationships, again, in my opinion, um, relationships that you've sort of left in previous lives unfinished, and they just kind of come into your life to create some level of transformation, I want to say. So these are also relationships that if you've noticed, I don't know if you've experienced
I
this.
just related to something. Yeah, tell me.
Now, this can also happen not just in the form of like a romantic relationship, but also otherwise, like friendships, etc. They teach you the most. They will make something happen inside of you that will change and that will make you realize actually change the most after that relationship, or that relationship ending taught me a lot more than being in that relationship taught me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
got it.
you.
Yeah, I get it.
So it's not that karmic relationship. No, the biggest problem that I feel I've seen with clients or experienced in my life is that you feel like, oh my God, that connection that I felt with this person, will I be able to feel that with someone else again? I lost my soulmate or I lost this. But actually, like certain relationships and also karmic relationships are not really meant to be with you forever. They are meant to come into your life for a certain period of time, do what they have to do, create that madness. And they are the shorter relationships, not like crazy long, short enough to kind of create a transformative energy in your life and then change you entirely. Do you know? Are you able to understand what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
100%.
So that leaving of somebody actually is able to, it's like just gives you like a jump start almost. It's like into a whole new direction, it'll just take you into places where you just, I didn't even know this version of me existed. And most of the time, I think this pushes you harder towards where your purpose is. It pushes you in that direction of where just kind of redirects you towards your purpose, if that makes sense to you. Yeah. Like it'll just take you to where you actually have to be, but it's just sort of a difficult start. Right. So you have to understand that, again, this is a part of the experience that you had, the product.
Yeah.
You can't really change that. Now, some people will think that take that experience and be like, now our life is over and now, this is it and we have lost this person. Or you understand that it served its purpose. It's done what it had to do in your life. It's brought about the changes in your life. And now, like every other thing, you move on.
Does this mean that everyone that we have in our lives, everyone, parents, friends, even to that detail of random strangers, bumping on you airports and then becoming friends for some time. Everything, all of this, does it come from our past life? How is it?
So I can't say that every relationship is going to come into your life as like a past life thing, but I feel like a lot of people who have made a lot of difference in your life.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this has happened with you, but sometimes what a stranger says can have a really random impact on you. Like it's happened with me, something that somebody that I would be talking to um, at a bar maybe, and then something that they said just spiraled into something that eventually I was like, oh wow, that made a lot of sense,
Yeah.
Certain people in your life that you meet in the randomest of circumstances and situations become really, really close to you, and you realize, how did this person not, where did this person come from? How have they become such an active part of my life? Marriages, I feel like, are very, I don't know if karmic is the right word, but that's definitely predetermined.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this is very unpopular opinion.
Yeah. No, but I have also read something similar, that your birth, your marriage, and your death is predetermined.
Yeah, like predetermined in the sense, so as an astrologer, I should not say this because this is again very unpopular. Kundali matching,
Yeah.
I don't do it because I don't believe that two people who are meant to get married are not going to get married because you match their kundalis. I've seen marriages utterly fail when their kundalis have matched. And like my sister and my brother-in-law, every pundit said, no, 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 you cannot get them married at all. And they are probably the only happy couple I know at this point. So it doesn't because what determines a good marriage in your life is actually your house of marriage in astrology, which is the seventh house, and your Amamsha. That will show you how your marriage is going to be, what is going to be, say, the nature of your relationship with your partner, things like that. If you have a really terrible seventh house, or you have, let's not use the word terrible, but if you have a lot of karmic baggage in your seventh house and stuff like that, then you are going to go through that experience, right? Just because you match to Kundali doesn't mean that your karmic experience is suddenly going to be taken away.
Right.
So you can't, in my opinion, you can't change the person you're going to marry. As an astrologer, what you can maybe sort of show someone is this is not the brightest period to meet someone to get married to.
Right. Okay.
So, for example, I don't know if other astrologers do this, but if somebody is under the influence of Rahu, I almost always will say, wait till Rahu gets over, because Rahu will always create this illusion of perfection. So it'll make you feel like I have met you for, like, say, arranged marriage or love marriage, and I will think that you are the perfect partner. Like, there is nothing wrong with you. When you come, you're like a bed of roses. But it's actually a bed of thorns, it's just kind of disguised. So my duty as an astrologer is to kind of just make you aware that, listen, what you're seeing is not the whole picture. You're wearing rose-colored glasses, so you can't really see the truth. And just wait till the end of this period to decide whether you want to be with this person or not. That's it. You can just kind of make someone wary of a period of time in your life where you can expect your life partner to walk in, versus you can't change somebody's experience. I couldn't change my best friend's experiences, If they are meant to go through something in their life, and I talk to them every single day, and I will like look at the guys, the guys' Janampatri, I look at their Janampatri, I will do everything. But if they're meant to go through something, then it is what it is, So you can't change. Yeah, you can't. Your partners are predetermined.
Oh, okay.
Who you're going to marry is predetermined, but it oftentimes is maybe not who you expect it to be.
And what about 3-4 marriages? So people who do 3-4 marriages.
3-4 marriages also, I feel like there's always, see, again, when you look at a birth chart, you can tell that this person has either gone through a broken engagement or a broken marriage, or something has happened in that kind of space.
Right.
Now, again, that is a karmic experience that is written for you. So once that karmic experience is done, then if you decide to move on and get married, there's really no problem.
Right. Okay. According to astrology, according to Vedic astrology, what should they look for when they're about to get married or they want to get married?
Just if you're in the right time period.
Okay.
See, dashas are everything. Are you familiar with dashas?
No, just like explain to the audience.
Okay. there is a planetary cycle of 120 years.
Okay.
Okay, now depending on when you are born, you enter a part of that cycle. Now, obviously, we don't live 120 years, so we
Yeah.
don't complete that cycle. We will live through a part of that cycle. Now, within that cycle, basically, it comes in a very specific order. It comes for a stipulated period of time. Every dasha comes for a stipulated period of time. Within, say, a Mahadasha is the longer duration of dashas, which is, say, Venus is for 20 years, Sun is for 6 years, Moon is for 10 years, so on and so forth. Within those periods, then you have smaller sort of segments, which are also like a Mahadasha Lord. So if you're in a Venus Dasha, then Venus will come with every other planet. So it'll come with Sun, Moon, Mars, Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, Rahu. Okay. So those are Antardashas. Now, this is what kind of deciphers how and when in your life.
Okay.
So you can have a very good looking chart. Okay. And I see this very often, that a chart has all the right placements. Every planet is sitting well. But the best planet that you see, oh my god, this planet gets activated, and it'll be like mind blowing. The planet never gets activated. So what's the point of a good looking chart if you don't enter a dasha where it's going to really shine through?
Okay.
So dashas are the most important. Also, interplanetary relationships through dashas. For example, if you're in a Saturn Mahadasha, or say you enter a Venus Mahadasha, how Venus's relationship is within the birth chart with all of these other planets, so that it can maximize the result. Okay. So you have to only see when you are getting married or looking to get married, is this the right time period in order to make that decision?
Okay.
As long as you're in a good time period, you also tend to meet people who are in a similar time period. So if you have entered, say, a period where you're meant to meet someone for marriage, you will also then meet someone who's also in a similar time period where they are meant to meet someone for marriage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Similarly, if you are meant to enter a toxic relationship, it is almost always that the other person is also meant to enter a toxic relationship. That's just, astrology is not just like my dasha is everything. I will also meet people in similar sort of spaces, time periods. You'll also attract, say you're in a certain period in your life, you'll also attract more of that into your life. So everything is it's not linear. It's not as linear as we think, that this is that and this is that. It's very interlinked, and it has a lot of interplays happening between who you're going to meet, when are you going to meet. If you're entering a good period in your life, you will suddenly start meeting people who you will be like, oh wow, this is a great opportunity. And business ke liye bhi koi mil jayega. You'll find someone in terms of relationship also. You'll start meeting the right people in terms of social circle. Whereas if you're not in a good period, or if you're in a period where you're supposed to get conned, then you will meet someone who will look like this is going to change your life, and it does for the worse.
Yeah.
So you just have to be aware of that time period, that am I going to meet someone in this period which is for the brighter things, and if not, then just be more mindful. So if you're in a time period where you want to get married, then get married. Then you won't meet someone who's going to destroy your life or like create like problems in your life.
Right.
Also, I don't think, again, like I said, you can't really change the person you're going to get married to, but maybe you can then like get married for like 1 year, 2 years, and then get divorced. If you get married at the wrong time, like then if it's I've seen this actually. I saw this one person who got married as soon as the Rahu Dasha started, and it was a Venus Rahu. So got married, fell in love, got obsessed. And Venus Rahu is a 3-year Dasha. In the 3 years, got married and got divorced also. Okay. Because you were never meant to really spend the rest of your life with this person. You were just supposed to have.
Fine, all of this is good. But then where is the free will? Where is the, feeling of calling ourselves the most evolved species on this planet?
I was reading this the other day actually. How much is free will and how much is destiny? It really depends on how aware you are.
Okay.
So if your level of awareness is very high, you have a lot more room to play around. So it'll be like 50-50. Okay. But if you are very less aware, then your destiny is maybe 70%. And 30% is free will. And 30% of free will is also your reaction. Like something happens to you, how do you react to react or respond to a situation? The more self-aware that you become, the more free will you tend to have.
Okay.
So you have more space, more room to be able to maneuver through a situation. So for example, if I see someone's birth chart and there's a lot of money, okay, how do you decide how much? People will ask me, how much money will I make? Am I going to make 1 crore, 10 crores, 100 crores? You can't say. A lot of that, I feel like, is a big part of that is destiny, but it's also then what do you do with the opportunities that have come in front of you? So even if you're meant to fall, how badly do you fall when a certain situation comes into your life is also, again, your self-awareness, how you deal with circumstances and situations. There are people when I've met who've like, you see their growth and you would be like, okay, that I see that those planets would give you a lot of growth, but that kind of rise is also, it is up to you. You know, there you can't take away free will entirely, because even when opportunities come in front of you, it's also, if you're more aware, you will also know intuitively what you have to do, how much you have to do, how much do you push yourself. Like, for example, say you're starting a business, for example, an opportunity comes in front of you. If you have self-awareness, you will know this, I have to give it my all.
Right.
Versus somebody else who's less aware will have more doubt. Will be a lot more resistant to a certain opportunity, will think 10 times, because your decision is not really getting made from a place of like intellect, right?
Right.
You're making it because you know this is something I have to do. You know this is the next thing that I know I have to do, so you do it. So there's a lot more space to sort of maneuver, versus the lesser aware you are, the more you are sort of stuck within the realm of destiny.
So you're saying that, let's say, the same example that he got divorced because of that dasha.
Yeah.
In that dasha or 3 years of period, if he was more aware to his reactions to their fights, maybe, or their, reactions to whatever that's happening, he could have passed that time.
So when I'll tell you what, when you're in a toxic relationship, have you been in a toxic relationship? Okay. When you're in a toxic
Not like what you
not
have
like
seen,
crazy,
but
not
little
like a
bit,
Majnu situation, but you've been.
little
Little
bit,
bit,
yeah,
na? Did you not know it was toxic?
yeah,
Everyone knows.
yeah.
Every single person that is in a relationship that is not good for them, deep down knows whether it's good for them or not.
Yeah.
Okay? The more self-aware you are, the more you're able to walk away from it. The more you're able to be like, listen, I value myself more. This is not good for me. It's easier for you to let go, because you know that you value yourself more, versus somebody who has a lot more fear, has a lot more insecurity. They will feel like, if this person leaves, then I have no one. So it's again perception. If you're more self-aware, then you're able to remove yourself from that experience sooner, as compared to someone else who will take that entire 3 years, get married, go through that entire cycle. They're still not meant to spend the rest of their life with them, but it's like within a spectrum. If you can maybe suffer 10% to 100%. Now you decide how much suffering you want. Now you keep sticking around till like the last. And one thing that I always tell my clients is, whenever your dasha is changing or a period is changing in your life, how will the planets communicate with you? They will not come here. Saturn will not come here and say, Himanshu, I have arrived.
Yeah.
This is what you have to do. How will they come?
Like, things will happen, people will come.
The first change always happens in the mind.
Yeah, right.
There will be like a small seed that will get planted in your mind.
Right.
कि मुझे ना ये business करना है. I want to set this up.
Yeah.
Or it'll be like, okay, this is not good for me. I need to get away from this. Yeah. These are small like messages that start to come into your life. The minute either your dasha is changing or your dasha has changed, you will always start knowing little bit. Again, it comes down to self-awareness.
Yeah.
Do you act on it or do you not act on it? Most humans will not act on it. Even if the messaging is very strong, until like bilkul matlab last May, when there's no option left, then they will do it. But even the good will always have that sort of like message coming into your mind, that seed sort of getting planted in your mind, and eventually whatever has to happen will happen. And similarly with the bad things as well. So whenever something is meant to happen, the planets always communicate through thought or through a feeling. And that thought is not like overthinking thought.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt this where you felt like something is going to change and you feel like I need to take something on new which just feels right and you're like I need to do it. And this always will coincide with either a dasha changing, antardasha changing or a mahadasha changing. You will just feel more drawn to something.
A lot of people, although might be of course thinking at this point that then if this is the path, then you know how the stories of rags to riches happen. You know, everything just changes. Most of it is credited to hard work. Most of it is credited to, you know, intense amount of hard work, intense amount of planning. All of these, you know, leaders who are like this.
Okay, let me tell you this one saying that millionaires don't believe in astrology. Billionaires do.
Billionaires do.
And
Yeah.
why is that?
Mm-hmm.
Every billionaire I've ever met in my life has never accredited his success to hard work.
Okay.
Ever. You know what they will say? They will say, Kismat ne saath diya.
Yeah.
We met the right people at the right time.
Mhm.
Things that happened just happened. You know, things
Yeah.
that were supposed to fall into place just fell into place.
Mm-hmm.
And not just for one specific year, consistently. And also, almost all billionaires that you will ever look at what Steve Jobs used to say.
Yeah.
Any really crazy successful person will say we listen to our instincts. And what is our instinct? It's that inner compass, right? It's your
Right.
intuition.
Mm-hmm.
They will always listen to instinct and they will always believe that the universe kind of made it happen. They had determination, they had wit, they obviously did hard. Tell me how many people are not working hard? Are you not working hard? Are you a billionaire?
No. Yeah.
I work hard. I am not a billionaire. What is different between how many hours of work you're putting in versus how many hours of work someone else is putting in? You can be equally smart. You can be equally hardworking.
Mm-hmm.
And even something as simple as like getting an investment into your business.
Yeah.
Somebody has to take that bet on you, right? Put their money on you and say, listen, Himanshu is going to do a good job.
Yeah.
That I think this guy has potential. I put 10 of you and one person, somebody has to take a gamble on one person.
Yeah.
Does that define the character of the 9 other people?
No.
Does that mean that they will work less hard? Is there any guarantee that Himanshu will succeed and the others will fail? What is that?
Kismat.
Kismat.
Recently, I saw a story of my friend, I think Shantanu. Shan posted it that he's like, I think he posted a video and it got taken down or something. And he posted a story after that धरा का धरा रह जाएगा तुम्हारा hard work. Kismat, bhai, kismat. So that's what yeah.
Yeah, because if your Kismat doesn't, see, the point is that, again, जो इंसान rags to riches होता है, same person can become riches to rags.
Yeah, yeah.
And what is that defining moment? What makes it happen? Decisions?
Yeah.
You will say that he made a stupid decision. He took a risk. Same person who took risks before that, you were like, wow, what a businessman. You know, it's like every time he takes a risk, it gives him reward. One risk he doesn't take and everything goes.
Yeah.
Do you watch cricket?
Yeah, I used to.
Do you know Rohit Sharma?
Yeah.
Do you know Rohit Sharma's pull shot?
Yeah.
So this very funny thing that Rohit Sharma would always say about his pull shot, he said,
Yeah.
आप लोग देखते हो?
Yeah.
He's like, same batter. It's the same bat, same person. Every time I go to hit the pull shot, my intention is to hit it for a 6. When I hit the 6, everyone applauds and says, wow, what a shot. When I don't get out, then everyone's abusing me.
Yeah.
He said, मैंने तो same ही करा ना. Same person, same skill. It's not like somebody else is hitting it at the other times.
Yeah.
He's like, it's just what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with rags to riches and riches to rags.
Right.
It's at the end of the day, and I think even Kohli says pretty similar things. If you ever saw the post-match ceremony when the World Cup happened, did you watch the World Cup right now? After they won the World Cup, Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli have only said, Rohit Sharma in press conferences said that ये लिखा था कि ये होना है.
Oh, okay.
He literally said ये लिखा था ये होना है, मगर हमें नहीं पता था कि ये लिखा है.
Right.
तो हमें तो आके खेलना था. और यही जिंदगी का खेल है. we don't really know what's going to happen.
That's true.
So the game is, it's already written that we're supposed to get here, but we don't know what is written. So we just play it like a regular game.
Yeah.
And Kohli again said the same thing the next day, that it's the gift of God.
Right.
So if they are believing that, whether they believe in astrology or don't believe in astrology is different, but they will always believe in Kismat. They believe in destiny, or they believe in Kismat, and they'll believe that something favored them along the way.
Okay, so I have a very teda question now. Okay, and that is coming from personal experience also, and because you have a background in, like your astrology, like you mentioned about Hora Shastra and everything, and Vedic wisdom wali cheez. So tell me something. Vedas also talk about, sadhanas, right? Lot of Vedas. In fact, Atharva Veda, from where Tantra came, it's a lot about sadhanas. Do this sadhana, do that sadhana for self purification, meditation, japas and all of that, chanting on your deity, right? And meditating on Divine Mother, meditating on, जिसको भी आप मेन वो करते. So अगर ऐसा ही है तो ये जो
सब लिखा है,
ये जो अगर ये सब लिखा हुआ है, तो then how is it that, like, do Vedas say anything about that? Okay, if I connect with the supreme leader, which is the creator. So one of like, there's a very famous saying by my guru Om Swamiji, is that he says that if you have direct contact with the PM, why will you go to the PAs, right? Why will you go to the assistant if you can just call the PM?
Yeah.
So that is one thing which I've always stuck with me, that then how is it that if I do sadhanas and if I do a lot of, self purification, then it changes. How does this happen?
What changes?
Like your path changes, everything changes in your life. Like even recently, have you seen that video? Virat Kohli went to Premanand Maharaj ji, and he's like, "Kya naam jab se ho jayega?" And he was constantly chanting at that time. Also, he had a counter on his hand. So that because Virat Kohli already knows uski kismat bahut achhi hai. Itne proof ke baad, still he's doing japa and all. So that part of.
See, you can see all the success and you can realize this is not it.
Yeah.
You can have all the luxury, you can be the most successful person in the world, you can have 250 million followers on Instagram, and you will realize this is not it. So what do all of the Vedas really tell you to do? What is the aim? Moksha? Liberation. What does that liberation tell you to do? What is liberation? In your opinion?
In my opinion, liberation is just getting away from all this physical material desires and like whatever is material.
Wait, what according to you, in order to understand that, what according to you is Maya?
Maya is whatever we see here. Anything like this body is Maya. Everything is Maya. It's like to me, Maya is this, that this is mine, this is yours. Like, having that attachment to everything.
Is Maya.
ऐसे होगा वैसे होगा, ये माया है.
Okay, so let me tell you that Maya is the mind, essentially.
Yeah.
The intellect, anything that comes from the mind. So the minute that you are born, they say ki ye Maya. Now Maya begins.
Yeah.
Why is that? Because every single thing that stems from the mind is Maya.
100%.
Your attachment, ego, all of those things. But in general, even the world that we see, the way that we perceive it, everything that comes from the mind is Maya, right? Maya. Now, and karma is a play of Maya. It's like a movie that is being projected. We are the players.
Yeah.
Okay. And there are certain rules within which even Maya plays out, which is karma.
Right.
Okay. And that's what keeps this entire play of Maya going. Now, what the Vedas will tell you to do is go back to the self. What is the self? Go back to, there is one ultimate truth in all of Vedanta, which is Brahman, which is one unified reality, which is the reason that Vedanta is very popular amongst physicists, quantum physicists, is because the only text that has ever said that there is only one unifying truth in the universe is Brahman. Okay? What makes Brahman very interesting is that the Upanishads are, have you heard of Shruti text? Do you know what
Yes,
Shruti
yes.
is? Shruti is that which is heard.
Yeah.
Okay? It's not a function of the intellect. It has not come from the mind. So it has not come from Maya. Everything else becomes, anything that comes from the mind is essentially the human truth, right? It's coming from the human mind. Everything that comes from stillness, the reason that Vedas have always said that you can't gain moksha through the mind. You have to go within to stillness in order for you to become liberated. What is liberated? To become one with the ultimate truth, to be able to dissolve all of this ego that we have in this world that comes again from the intellect. So when Vedanta was the paths to liberation that were kind of created or written in Vedanta were, and this was all of it was, by the way, to reach moksha, which is to become one with Brahman. Okay, there's only one truth. Again, I'm saying this because there's only one ultimate truth in Vedanta, which is Brahman, which cannot be understood.
Yeah.
So you can read the Upanishads, you can read the Gita, you can read everything, but you cannot understand it because it can only be experienced. The experience karne ke liye, there are 4 ways or the 4 paths that have been written. Now, the 4 paths, there is one Karma Yoga, there is Dhyana Yoga, there is Jnana Yoga, and there is Bhakti Yoga. Now, what are these different yogas? This Karma Yoga is basically when all your actions come from such pure surrender that you have no attachment to the outcome at all. You have no attachment to anything that you do. Whatever you're doing, you do with like utmost love and respect and surrender. Okay, that's Karma Yoga. That is also a path to stillness. Then there is Dhyana Yoga, which is what we talk about, meditation, which is focusing essentially, right? To become so focused in your mind that that path leads you to liberation, which you're saying is sadhana. Then is Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga is through knowledge, which is you can read the Upanishads, you can read the Gita, you can read the Vedas, and through knowledge you can through knowledge you can experience the truth of Brahman. Then there is Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is again devotion with a lot of surrender. So much surrender ki matlab whatever you're doing, you have so much faith in that divinity that say you believe in, right? All of these in Vedanta are namas and rupas, right? God, the Ishwar that you believe in are namas and rupas, which means that name and form of God. So you can connect with any deity, any Ishwar that you feel like is, becomes the path to again that same Brahman. So the idea is to get out of Maya entirely. Okay, and in order to do that, there are these 4 paths that you can take. And I have noticed, very unfortunately, that there has become a lot of eliteness even in the path that you are on.
Yeah.
If you're doing a certain kind of meditation, then you're on the right path. If you're doing, and for people don't really know all of these different paths to liberation, right? They will think that no, if you're not doing sadhana means that you are not spiritual. If you're not doing renunciation, then you're not spiritual. There is no right and wrong in spiritual.
Right.
Okay, there is no right answer. You have to do what works for you. We're over 8 billion people, right? Not every person needs to have the same path to get to that destination. Everyone has to find their own path. Somebody might connect with Bhakti Yoga. For me, it was Jnana Yoga. I'm like a combination of Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga. Somebody else may find their path in Bhakti Yoga. But you have to find what works for you, and then eventually all roads lead back to that one point. And that is only so that you're out of that Maya, samsara, and that cycle that you otherwise continue to go on. So the cycle of life and death is called samsara. So if you're going to be stuck in this, I've taken birth here, and then you continue, even if you're doing good karma, all of that is fine, but you'll still come back in another life. Now, in order to get out of that system entirely, you have to go through these different paths. Now, say, for example, you have, do you remember we spoke about Prarabdha, right?
Yeah.
Journey. So, hey, you've got now your itinerary is fixed, right?
Yeah.
Now, even if you have got liberation in that, on this holiday that you're on, you've
Yeah.
gotten liberated, say midway.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily change the experiences that are going to happen to you.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that now everything will be different. Nothing is going to be different. You will only become a witness to your life. So nothing affects you anymore.
Right.
But whatever, so it's believed that, so basically, if you become liberated while you are still alive, it's called Jivan Mukt. That means that you are alive, which is Jeev, and Mukt means liberated, right? And you still have to complete your prarabdh, but
Right.
which means that, so it's a story in Vedanta, that once the arrow has left the bow, then it has to cover its journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, midway se to matlab it will not fall down, right?
Right.
It has to cover the entire journey. When it completes its journey, then you don't come back. But even for someone who's Jivan Mukt, what gets dissolved is your Sanchit karma, which is all the karma you've accumulated in your bank, and the karmas you accumulated in this life. So say Agami karma also gets dissolved, but your prarabdha you have to complete.
Right.
But what comes out of prarabdha, what it becomes, is like a movie. You go to a theater,
Yeah. Just watch
you
it.
watch the movie unfold. That's it. You're not affected by it. You're
Yeah.
attached to what the movie is playing in front of you. You just watch it unfold.
Yeah.
That is the actual goal.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that if a certain person who's very successful, in your example, Virat Kohli, that he has to now give up everything.
Yeah.
That he has to go and live in a hut. He can live in a mansion. He can do everything that he's still doing, but not be attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't define him. There is no sense of belonging to it. It's there, it's there.
Yeah.
It's not there, it's not there. So why a lot of people seek that is because doesn't mean now you have to leave and you have to go into a cave. I used to think that. I used to think if I have to get liberated means I have to go into a cave somewhere in the hills, and I have to like think of which cave I have to go to
Yeah,
in 20 years from now.
Hmm.
But it's not like that. You can be liberated no matter where you are in your life. You can continue to work the way that you are working. It's just, again, you just see things for what they are, right? You're a part of a play, you're playing your role, you're watching the play unfold. It doesn't affect you. That's it. It's
Yeah.
actually pretty simple.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's what Maya is. Maya is not, I used to think Maya is luxury. For the
Okay.
longest time,
Yeah.
I used to think it's, when somebody would say more Maya, means this is, yeah, clothes are Maya.
Yeah.
Why are you buying expensive things? It's not, it's everything that comes from the mind, which is why I also sent you this conversation between Tagore and
Yes. Yes.
Einstein, which is the most mind-bending conversation I ever have read. Because the first time I read that conversation, I was like, Einstein is saying it's an objective reality, right? Obviously, this table is going to be here,
Yeah.
even if we are not there.
Yeah.
And Tagore turns around and says, but this table is here because of the consciousness. The consciousness is seeing this table, right?
Yeah.
So if we humans in here, if there is no consciousness, where is the table?
If there's no one to experience, then
If there's nobody to experience this table, is this table really even here?
yeah.
Which is, it's a subjective reality. And funnily enough now, one of the greatest mysteries in quantum mechanics is the role of consciousness. And whether it's not understood and it's not known that the universe exists without or without consciousness. It is very much up for debate.
Yeah.
And that is the reason that so many quantum physicists have always gone back to the Vedas.
Vedas.
Because they would say that things that are so bizarre in quantum mechanics make sense when you read the Upanishads.
Yeah.
And these are not, your run-of-the-mill physicists. These are people who are
Yeah.
iconic and who are pioneers in their field.
Even the best of them have referred to Vedas and Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah,
also.
absolutely. There's something called as a double slit experiment.
Double slit experiment.
Okay. So basically, when you have a quantum particle that is shot at a screen, whether it decides to be in the state of a particle or a wave depends on whether it's being observed or not.
Okay.
This is like the most mind-bending thing that there is.
Yes.
Okay, now what it means by observation is that the minute that it is observed, it behaves differently.
Observed as
When
in?
observed, that is the mystery.
Okay.
That is the biggest mystery in quantum physics, is what does it mean to be observed?
Okay.
Certain interpretations, like say Copenhagen interpretation, would say that that observation is very vague. Actually, they will say that even a measuring device will do any form of observation.
Okay.
Then there's Eugenie Weiner, I think, who says that that observation is consciousness. So everything stays in the state of possibilities or probabilities until a consciousness or a conscious observer comes into play, which is you and me and him and
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
And that's when it takes a specific form. So the universe essentially can stay in the state of probabilities until somebody comes in to observe it, which is
Right.
in the form of consciousness. Now, there is David Bohm, who has a different interpretation. There is Vedanta, which also, again, if you read Einstein and Tagore's conversation, you will understand that what Tagore means by it is a human truth. So it believes in the consciousness, but it also believes that the consciousness is very much a part of the unified reality, right?
Yeah.
But we are also the observers. So if you remove the observer entirely, then there is no universe.
There is no universe. Yeah.
So the parallels between Vedanta and what quantum physics, a lot of people will say, oh my God, quantum physics, how can you correlate these two things? But people who have read the Upanishads and people who have, and physicists, of course, who worked on it, understand that what quantum physics is now kind of heading towards is the same truths that have been echoed in Vedanta for thousands of years.
Yeah.
They're obviously written in a more philosophical sort of way, but all of this, when Tagore said this is a human truth, the table is a human, he literally said this table that is in front of you is of the human consciousness, it's the human truth. And this is the problem of having an observer. We are a part of the problem. How do we remove ourselves from that problem and decide whether the universe is there or not? So the biggest mystery today in, I want to say, science is what is the role of consciousness? You know, is it there? Is it not there? If it's not there, then why do quantum particles behave the way that they behave? What does it mean to be an observer? And you studied physics. So, and I don't even understand physics. But for me, when I turn to physics only to try and understand how can astrology work, you know, how is it possible that everything is correlated unless there's actually, we are related in ways that we don't understand.
Yeah.
So there is quantum entanglement, there is the 0-point field, there is the observer effect. Everything is talking about an interconnected reality, right? I'm not going as far as to say that everything is Vedanta and quantum physics is like they're echoing the same truths, but very different languages and sort of drawing the same conclusions. The idea is that we don't really know today how we're all connected.
Yeah.
We don't really know, right? But we are connected in more ways than we can ever comprehend.
Right.
And quantum physics is trying to find that answer through science. And philosophers are trying to find that answer through philosophy and spirituality. And that whole area of consciousness just remains gray.
Yeah.
Until, I don't know when.
I don't think they will ever find this.
Yeah, because
no
like
amount
I said,
of research can.
Yeah, because I do a lot of research in the number of scientists that have looked at spirituality, and I'm not saying that they're religious people, but there are a lot of people who have Nikola Tesla, Erwin Schrödinger, Werner Heisenberg, Niels Bohr, David Bohm,
Oppenheimer also.
or Robert Oppenheimer. It's an endless list of the number of people who have been pioneers in that space, who have looked at Vedanta for answers or looked at Vedas for answers to even understand that, okay, this is something that somebody at least has spoken of. So we are not completely crazy, because the Newtonian physics and quantum physics have completely different laws.
Yeah.
Like their worlds don't meet. So there's obviously something that we don't yet understand. And you may be able to throw some more light on it because I'm not a physics student. But for me, whatever I've understood so far is that we don't really know what's going on.
No, I'm like, that's 100% true, because whatever science is giving us is research,
Yeah.
which they think that, okay, this is, and like we spoke, that there is no, like, no one can define what Brahman is. No one can define what the, the shapeless, formless God.
Because it can only be experienced.
Yeah, and why you cannot define is also somewhere mentioned, because there is a verse in Lalita Sahasranam which says that she is the meditation, she is the meditator,
Yeah.
she is the object which is being meditated upon. So she is everything.
She's everything. Same
Like-
is also written about Brahman.
Yeah. You don't have the words, you don't
There
have
is
the
no
right knowledge.
Exactly,
There is
because
nothing
they
to
say
say it.
that words are also a part of Brahman. So how can words define what Brahman is?
You can't define that, and I don't think like any amount of research will ever, because that's the limit of human intellect, human abilities, and just because of course जिसने बनाया उसने लिमिट लगा रखी है ना कि इसके आगे नहीं जा सकते, इसके आगे जाना है तो फिर
But that's
then you
why
merge.
that's what makes Upanishad so special, is it is authorless.
Yeah,
It
Yeah.
was divinely revealed.
Yeah.
It was that which is heard.
yeah, it was the drishti.
It was what the sages and seers sort of received
Yeah,
through stillness,
right.
through meditation, through sadhana.
Hmm.
It was not something that sort of came out of the human mind and
Yeah.
said, ki, oh, we have one unified reality and this is what it is. So,
Yeah,
I mean, I have heard when I post on Instagram about these things, then there are people who are like, you don't know anything about quantum physics, you don't know anything. I'm like, but I am not saying this.
yeah,
Read what Schrodinger said.
Yeah.
These are people who have worked on these experiments. These are people who are literally like some of the most significant equations named after them. If they have no problem in turning to
yeah,
Vedanta, what is your problem? They're like, you are reducing science to philosophy. But these are people who are spending years and years and years of their life on research. I'm like, yeah, they are. But they're also looking here for answers. So if
Yeah.
I am talking about these answers as well, and I'm just saying what they said, then then what's the problem?
Right. Okay. So we can of course, this is a lot to digest for a lot of people, what we just spoke. And but it was beautiful, like it was something like as if the dimag ke andar
It's a bit
is-
crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy, but it has given me so much dopamine since a lot of episodes, because I was actually looking forward to such a conversation where we could talk about both equally,
Yeah.
because there is a lot of limit when we talk to, So yeah, it's pretty crazy. Now we can talk about our chart.
Oh,
So you have my chart, right? So
okay, let's see.
because people are mostly interested in, okay, how can astrology make us money? That's the first question. Then there is marriage.
Money. How is it going to make you money? I mean,
Yeah.
it can make you money.
Only by selling a course?
I don't know which courses are making people money, but see, what can make you money is, again, like I said, you have a lot more control over your life when you have a lot more awareness. When you have a lot more control and you have a lot more awareness, your money becomes a byproduct. It's not, again, it's not the end goal, but it'll find its way to you. If you need it, it will find its way to you. Or even if it's meant to come to you, it'll come from wherever. What do you want to know about your chart?
How does it look like? So
It's pretty good.
what do you mean by good chart?
See, good chart is, I don't really think anything is a good chart or a bad chart. I think that every chart has there are certain periods in their life which are good, certain periods in their life which is a little bit more challenging. You have to kind of make the most of whatever you have been dealt. But still, what is a good chart?
Yeah, so we can go house by house if you want.
That's very, okay, let's just break it down to, there are 12 houses.
Yeah.
Okay. There are 4 kendras, 3 trines. Now, these are the most auspicious houses. Why they're auspicious is because they govern the most significant sort of pillars. Everything, say, if in a company you have pillars, right? Which is like your sales team, you have your operations team, you have your accounting team, and you have marketing team.
Yeah.
Similarly, in astrology, you have the 4 kendras, which represent the first is the self, which is who you are, then your home environment, the kind of stability that you have, the kind of foundation that you have at home. And the 7th is your partnerships, your partner, and your 10th is your career. Okay. And then there's 159, which is the trines, which basically are called the dharma houses, which is basically your entire sort of spiritual journey will come through those houses. So you're learning how much you evolve, what is your higher purpose, all of those things will come from there. So if you have a lot going on in terms of powerful combinations placed in any of these houses, then there's that much more potential, I want to say. There's a lot that this person has the potential to achieve within the realm of this life. Then there are charts which are, honestly, I feel like have come here to live out a certain kind of life, and that's it. Like their role, their journey is also, I want to say, pretty stable. People ask me what is good chart and bad chart. I actually think that the charts that have a lot of rise and a lot of fall, which sounds cryptic, but why I say that is because any chart which is very good has also seen a very dark period in life.
Yeah.
Okay, because that's where you grow from, that's where you evolve from.
Right.
So the rags to riches or significant highs will not come unless there are significant lows, right?
True.
So the same planets that are meant to give you a lot of highs can also give you a lot of lows.
Yeah.
So that's what strong charts do. Any person that you see who inspires you, Virat Kohli, has also seen enough difficulty in their life to have then grown from it and gotten to a point where they are today.
Yeah.
Anyone that you look at, whether you look at a Steve Jobs, you look at any person, maybe there'll be a few rare exceptions, but most people who have gone through or have seen major highs have also seen a lot of lows. But I personally find those charts really interesting is because there's a lot going on. There's a lot of character building, there's a lot of evolution, there's a lot of growth, and you will almost always find people who've achieved a lot at some point in their life, or at least the ones that I've met, become fairly spiritual towards the end of it. Now, some people will find that spirituality at an early age if they got an early success also, and some people will also find that maybe at the age of 60, 65, 70. But every person I have met who is, say, extremely successful in their 60s has always turned out to be spiritual. But they have their own sort of way.
Okay.
They all believe in God. They all don't believe in remedies.
Yeah.
Why is because all of them have tried everything.
Right.
And they believe in Kismat. They believe in destiny. They believe that you have some sort of karam or some sort of trajectory, and destiny kind of unfolds the way that it does. So for me, the good charts are those.
Got it.
I'm not really someone that would say that a very linear life, which has like 20-30% up and down is great.
Yeah.
But honestly, there are people who will say, but they started off there and they have never seen bad period in their life. I'm like, but how far have they come from where they started?
Right. True.
How far have you come from where you started? I'm asking you.
Very far.
Very far.
Very far.
That's a good chart.
Yeah.
But how bad do you think your life has also been? How many falls and how many troughs have you seen?
Yeah.
Just as much, right?
Yeah.
That's a good chart. Because you see everything. You see the bad, you see the ugly, you see the great, and somewhere along the way is where you also evolve the most.
Right. Okay. Tell me about my chart.
What do you want to know? Your Ketu Mahadasha?
Like whatever is there to, what's good, what's bad, and how is it?
No, you have a really good chart. But honestly, since you entered Ketu Mahadasha, which was in 2021, end of 2020, 2021,
Okay.
has your life been a lot more intuitively sort of aligned?
After 2021, yeah.
Do you feel like a lot of your journey just kind of happened?
Yeah, everything. Like after 2021, it was pretty crazy actually.
Like work-wise, especially, everything was just happening.
Yeah.
And everything was happening very sort of instinctively,
Yeah.
intuitively. Chalo, ye karne ka man hai, to ye kar lo.
Yeah.
Life is taking you in this direction. Let's go with it.
Yeah.
Let's flow with it. And how many plans worked out?
I honestly don't make plans.
That's the reason that it worked out. Because if in this period you
Yeah.
make plans when it doesn't work out.
Okay.
Because Ketu is literally about surrender. How much surrender did you learn in this period?
100%.
Everything is surrender, right?
Yeah.
Till 2027, you're just gonna have to keep reinventing,
Yeah.
keep doing things that come to you intuitively. You have to keep exploring, keep developing. I don't know if skills is the right thing, but keep working on anything that comes to you instinctively.
Right. Okay.
See, self-doubt is a part of Ketu as well. But the lesser you listen to the intellect, the lesser you listen to the mind, and the more you listen to your heart. Ketu is a period of mastering your intuition. This is a
Right.
period you'll be the most intuitive in your life also, and this will be a period where your intuition will take you to places also. And it doesn't have to make sense to you in these 7 years. So when you started, say, in 2021, you would have just started matlab, with no expectation of where you were going, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you were like, okay, I don't know where I'm going to go from here, but let's just do this because I feel like doing it.
Yeah.
And everything ever since then has just been, let's do this because I don't know where I'll reach, but somewhere I'll reach at some point.
Yeah.
You know that if not now, in 10 years, it'll pay off because
Yeah.
you feel connected to the path you're on,
Yeah.
right? You know that this will take you somewhere and it doesn't have to make sense to you right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
For till 2027, you don't have to understand why, especially because your Ketu is your house of career.
Okay. Oh.
Which means that right now your destination, you can't even imagine where your destination is. But your destination after this, honestly, like I always look at astrology from where you're going, from where you're coming to where you're going, right?
Yeah.
So for me, Ketu sitting in your 10th house before Venus, because Ketu is always followed by 20 years of Venus, which is a lot of time.
20 years of Venus.
20 years of Venus.
Damn.
So
I'll call you after 3 years.
so whenever Venus comes and your Venus is in Libra in the 4th house, there is and all of it is looking. So basically in astrology, it's not just where you're sitting, it's who you're sitting with, where are you looking. It's like if I'm sitting here and I can see what's kept there, right? And I might even be able to influence it. I can call this person and say, can you move that a little bit? I don't like it. So similarly, when in astrology, it's not just where your planet is sitting, it's about where all can it look. Who is it sitting with? Are you sitting with a friend? If I am sitting here in this room, if this room is my house, I'm very comfortable. If it is, say, my enemy's house, I'm very uncomfortable. If I'm in my friend's house, I'm decently comfortable. So everything comes down to a planet is sitting in its own house. Is it sitting in a friend's house? Is it sitting in an enemy's house? Is it sitting in the Kendra or the trine? Is it sitting in a Dosthana? Are you going to be what nakshatra is in? Which is like the nuanced sort of understanding of a planet's influence. And what period are you in? Is this planet ruling over you right now? And all of these things have to together work, which they are for you. So when Venus is in your 4th in Libra, when your Ketu moves, your Dasha ends in 2027, then everything that you've been feeling so far about like, don't know where this is eventually going to take me, that's when it will start to reward you. I'm not saying there's no reward before that. I'm just saying that the kind of reward that you're getting right now is not even 10-15%. It's like, you're just setting the foundation. You're to kind of build that building. And that building is going to get built in Venus. So the fact that your moon is in Cancer in your 1st is also why you will be very good in the public kind of eye, but also very emotionally grounded, very emotionally centered. You will not get emotionally carried away by a lot of things. It is very intuitive. Basically, all of your planets are very intuitive. So if you keep listening to your instinct, keep listening to your gut, you don't have anything in life that you need to worry about. And Ketu goes on, like I said, for 2.5 years. After this is like a big party. because Ketu always comes before Venus because Venus gives you a lot. So I used to always wonder, why does Ketu come before Venus? Is because Ketu sort of gives you the spiritual standpoint.
Yeah.
And so that when the luxuries come,
You don't get
like
Yeah.
crazy, right?
Yeah.
You stay humbled, you stay grounded, you've learned your spiritual lessons, and you're ready for that reward.
Mm-hmm.
So when your Venus starts to give you, just make sure you carry this
Yeah.
spiritual sort of path with you, and you're going to be
Yeah.
better than good.
Okay. And what
Just-
about the like Rahu and all? How does that work?
See, what is Rahu? Rahu is like Maya on steroids.
Okay.
Okay, it's like your entire external world, the digital space, overnight success, anything that is intangible. See, Rahu and Ketu are both nodes of the moon, right? North node is Rahu, south node is Ketu. Unlike all of the other celestial bodies that you see in the sky, you can't see Rahu and Ketu because they are shadow bodies. Yeah.
Shadows.
So the impact they have in your life is also fairly intangible. So like I said, Ketu is very spiritual and detachment, letting go. So astrologers are very wary of Ketu because people are not ready for a Ketu life in human birth, right? Rahu on the other side is like, you know how shadow can be very big as compared to what the shadow is of?
Yeah. Depends on where the light is.
Yeah, depends on where the light is. That's Rahu.
Hmm.
So for example, somebody shooting to fame overnight on Instagram, what is the foundation? A viral reel.
Yeah. Very shaky foundation.
Matlab, it's like one day you just become successful, but there's
Yeah.
no real foundation to why you've become successful or why you've become so famous. Now the
Right.
world knows you, but why does the world know you? So as quickly as it comes is as quickly as it goes. Like Rahu's come, it's given you everything, and boom, it's gone. So when it comes, it's also the planet of addiction. It's also the planet of, like I said, money, fame. But on the flip side, it gives you, because it doesn't have a foundation, it gives you anxiety, it gives you stress, it gives you overthinking, it gives you depression. How many celebrities have you seen that have reached the pinnacle of their success and found that it was not fulfilling?
Yeah.
That's rough. It gives you dissatisfaction. It can give you fame. You can feel like, oh my God, but you're like at the peak of your career. Why is this? Why are you feeling like this? Because it makes you feel hollow.
Right.
Whereas something like Saturn is the slow growth. Okay, Saturn comes for 19 years. Saturn is also the slowest planet in the solar system in terms of how long it takes to go around the sun. It takes 2.5 years into 12 to go around the sun.
Okay.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
So it's around about 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes 2.5 years in one zodiac. So the rate at which it will also give you is fairly slow, which is why people like really dislike Saturn, because Saturn is all about longevity,
Patience.
patience, perseverance. It wants you to learn, study, become. It wants you to become successful, but have also earned that success.
Right. Got
You
it.
know, it wants you to have reached a certain place with a very solid foundation, which is why people who are ruled by Saturn will never really see a lot of success in their early years. You'll always see, like politicians. Politicians almost always have some role of Saturn.
Yeah.
And how many successful politicians do you see under the age of 35?
Yeah.
Because Saturn also represents masses, it represents serving people, but it's like you're not really learned much till the age of 35, 36. So it won't really give you a lot. Whereas Rahu will give you success in your 20s. But it is not success that will last till your old age. Saturn will give you the kind of success that will stay.
Got it.
So that's why people don't really like Saturn a lot, because it's very slow. So you also face a lot of obstacles. You'll also face a lot of delays. You'll feel like, oh my God, that person's journey. So how come that person became so successful? You know, he is so successful at 28. I am at 35. I'm still not making money.
Yeah.
That just means your journeys are different. Today, you see somebody else's success. You don't know what their story is ahead.
Yeah, of
which
course.
is why you have to focus on your journey, right? So if Saturn is giving you a slow sort of growth, it's fine. I always say you'd rather be successful in your 40s and 50s and say your second half of 30s versus seeing a lot of fame and money in your teenage years and 20s and early 30s. Because nobody's life has continuously like 5 dashas which are great.
Yeah.
You're going to hit one planetary period which is going to humble you. You know, you don't want that humbling experience to come in your 40s.
Yeah.
Whenever success comes in your late 30s, 40s, you already learned. That means that in the beginning years of your life, you've gone through a lot of, say, experiences that have taught you. You've grown a lot. You're also a lot more well equipped to be able to handle
it.
the success that then follows, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you'd rather have success in your late 30s and 40s and 50s versus early age. Now, this is a big problem with the new generation
Yeah.
because we like instant gratification.
Right.
We want everything now.
Right.
Swiggy Bolt. We want coffee now. We want food instantly delivered. We want groceries at our doorstep. So where is the patience in life? If everything is coming so quickly, why is the money not coming? Why is the success not coming? Why is the career not taking off? Why have I not found my life partner and my soulmate at the age of 24? You know? I
Yeah.
mean, life is going to happen when it's going to happen.
Right.
It's your problem that you have no patience, you know? You need to fix your mind. Just like I said, everything has its time and place,
Mhm.
and when it's meant to come to you. The more you align with it, the better the quality of your life is going to be. And that's it. Every planet is going to come and teach you something. Every
Right.
planet. Also, there is this one thing that I've noticed with a lot of people, or most people, is that they have very bad not understanding. They find certain planets very evil.
Yeah. That's also I don't understand. Why would a planet be evil?
See, there is something called as malefic and benefic
Yeah.
in astrology, which means malefic is that generally considered bad. Okay, and benefic is generally considered good. Now, what do I think is this generally considered bad or generally considered good is when you're in school, you have teachers. Everyone's English teacher is always good.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Your English teacher, French teacher are always the least strict.
Yeah.
They will teach you also like so sweetly that you're like, oh, I love this teacher.
Yeah.
Then there's always the math teacher that
Yeah.
nobody likes. So now, what are planets? Planets are all teachers.
Yeah.
Okay? There are good teachers. By what I mean by good is that their way of teaching you is more lenient.
Yeah.
So, like a Venus will be more lenient with its teachings. Jupiter will be more lenient with its teachings. Saturn is like your math teacher now. It has to
Yeah.
it has to teach you the hard way. But there is no really good or bad. Both benefic and malefic planets can give you crazy rise and give you crazy fall. But it's just how they tend to teach you varies from it's kind of like their characteristic. You know, it's their nature. Somebody's father is very lenient, somebody's father is very strict, somebody's mother is very lenient, somebody's mother is very strict. So that was malefic, and benefic is sort of understanding how a planet is, even if it's going to give you, like people are like, oh my god, Shani jab deta hai. So when Saturn gives you, it gives you a lot of struggle, but it gives you, na. It's not like if Saturn has come in your life means you're only destroyed.
Yeah.
In fact, the way that I think that the way Saturn can give you, no other planet can give you.
True.
The way that Ketu can take you towards your purpose, no other planet can take you towards purpose. The kind of fame Rahu can give you, no other planet can give you. The kind of luxury Venus can give you, no other planet can give you. The kind of prosperity and abundance that Jupiter can give you, no other planet can give you. So every planet has its own sort of characteristic, has its own role, and has its own nature of how it wants to sort of teach you whatever it has to teach you.
Right.
So you just have to understand that.
Got it. Okay. Final question.
Yeah.
And the most important question, I think. Combining everything that you know, Vedanta, quantum physics, experiences, reading a lot of charts, astrology, right? What is that one solution to every problem?
It's like a combination of two things,
Okay.
but it's one solution.
Okay.
It's the combination of letting go and surrendering that, in my opinion, is the answer to every problem.
Accepting it.
It's all acceptance. It's if something is going, you let it go. And when I say surrender, you believe that it's for the best possible reason and that whatever comes is always going to come to you for the better. Whether today it makes sense to you or doesn't, because a lot of people will also then ask that, but what reason could this?
Abhi kya ho raha hai?
No, but how does this? How did that break up?
Yeah.
Was that so important in my life? Doesn't have to make sense to you now.
Right.
You know, it has to make sense to you, maybe not even in this life, but it has to make sense to your soul. At the deepest level of your existence, it has to make sense.
Yeah.
So if you just live with the fact that if something is leaving your life, you understand the meaning of transient life. That means that everything is a phase.
Yeah.
Then letting go becomes very easy. And if you believe that there is a higher power, whatever it is you believe in, karma yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, or dhyan yoga, then just surrender.
Yeah.
Because it'll take you where it has to take you now. Then you just flow like the river.
Right.
It'll take you to the ocean. That's what even the Upanishads say, that if you just flow, it'll take you to the ocean.
Yeah. If you live like that, you're not the mind, you're not the body, you're this universe.
Yeah,
itself,
just,
then-
I mean, it's so easy.
It's not easy.
I mean, you know, because to be honest, like lived like that now for a bit.
Yeah.
I'm like, but it's actually quite simple. Something's not working out. Okay, no problem. Move on.
It's your prarabdha.
Yeah, it's your product. It's like, I'm like, it really, like if I felt sick last year, fairly sick. I'm like, okay, like,
ठीक है.
take medication. You know, you can't let a sickness consume you. You can't let any experience in your life consume you. You can let go of anything. Move on. You just have to, I don't know, cut cords.
Yeah. Resistance matlab.
No resistance. You know, people have so much resistance, and the resistance always comes from two things: fear, insecurity.
Yeah.
If you just let go of fear and insecurity in your life, honestly, surrender becomes almost so simple, which is why I said it's like a two-part
Right.
process.
Right.
And that is basically what manifestation is.
Yeah.
You know, let go, surrender, gratitude. It's like the mix of those three things. Manifestation then just becomes
Easy.
so easy.
Yeah.
Whatever you want will find its way to you if it is meant to come in your life.
Exactly.
It'll come into your life a lot more smoothly. It'll find its way to you.
Yeah.
So
Great.
that's it.
Beautiful conversation. Thank you so much for.
Thank you so much for having me again.
It was all prarabdha.